Hello guys, welcome. Please have a seat. I've just realized that after my recent pulls that I won't be pulling for at least a while. Therefore the current state of my account is exactly how it's going to be at the 3-year anniversary. So I would like to show off my journey so far to you guys. What you should know is that my progress is that of a low spender. I almost always had Valkin and I also purchased the battle pass 10 times. And I refilled on one very special occasion to get Nilou on her first run on the very first day. It's important to note that right now is the 21st of August 2023 and as of this date I have logged in a total of 1058 times. And I'm not gonna read out the rest of it, you can see the stats yourself. So far, this is how my character roster looks like. As you can see, I have quite a bit. And I am proud to say that I am very satisfied with who I have, and since I have been planning out my pools well in advance, there's very few pools that I regret. And I would also like to show you my wish history. Unfortunately, I haven't been using this site from the very beginning, meaning that a significant portion of my pools have been lost, but I think the data available is more than sufficient to represent my journey. And I will be going through the data that is missed and my gripes with early game, then my successes. So first of all, I have been a player day 1 and as such I have pulled on the very first Venti banner, which I failed to get, and my pity there I remember was 80 on Mona, which then I saved to be able to guarantee my very first Zhongli. He was my very first limited unit and I have been very happy to have him as I liked him a lot and I did not pull because of his Archon status. He was also late soft pity. After that I was fortunate enough to win the 50-50 on around 76 on Albedo, and then I saved my pools trying to get Xiao, but I failed. I lost my pity on the Diluc, which I was happy to get actually because he helped me in Abyss, and then I saved my guarantee for Venti, which this time I did not want to miss, and then my Venti came home at early. It wasn't the 12th pity, I believe it was around 30-ish pity or 24, and then the rest of the data you can see here. And some notable highlights I would like to include is that I had quite a lucky streak, as you can see, because on my Eula summons, after losing it to Jean, which by the way I rerolled 34 times after this account to get a Jean account, which I failed to get. But you can imagine my excitement when Jean dropped, and I was screaming like a child for that. And the very next temple, Eula came home, and then I doubled my luck in the weapon banner, even though back then the weapons weren't guaranteed. I eventually managed to get Broken Pines for Eula, so she was my very first limited unit that also had her signature. I pre-farmed as well, and I had quite a good build going on, so I was happy. And then I saved my pulls for Inazuma, and I could not help but pull Yoimiya, and as you can see I got her in 18 pity and her weapon in 19 as well, which was amazing. I just couldn't believe my luck. Then I also got lucky on Shogun. However, on her weapon banner I got slightly below average luck, I believe, because I went full epitomized. And after that is what I consider my luck to be permanently over since then. Well, yes, I did pull an early Nahida and an early Memory of Dust, but aside from those two, you can see that I've always hit soft pity. And you know what, Inazuma has been 2 years ago. I'm still waiting for a lucky break again, as unlikely as that is, to me at least. And I've also made a vow, as you can see I've pulled quite a bit on the weapon banner, which I would not recommend, even though I was saving up for months in advance to guarantee the weapons for my very favorites. I stopped since Red Horn, which means that it is going to be almost a year now that I've been clean on the weapon banner, and I do not plan on going back, because I do not recommend pulling on it at all, honestly. And you can see that I've managed to get quite a few characters because I was managed to save enough pulls. Next, on the standard banner, you can see that I was quite lucky. The only pulls that it didn't record, I believe, was a Skyward Atlas at 77 pity, and this Kaching is false data, this was 80. But aside from that, the rest is accurate. As you can see, I was quite lucky with many earlys on the standard. And then you can see my stats, that it's very relatable, I think, because I'm around middle tier luck, and it's quite a large sample size of pulls. On my weapon banner, I would say it's even quite unlucky, actually. And my standard is, I would consider that to be fairly luck based, but I don't think that overshadows the two others, which are middle of the pack luck. And next up, I would like to show you what all this looks like in game, what I've managed to gather so far. This is my character menu, which you have seen previously. These are my current weapons. It's quite a bit more than what you need, and again, do not pull on the weapon banner. I only pulled because there are my favorite units that I could not help but get the weapons for. And as you can see, I've been quite diligent leveling my weapons to 90, R5ing them, but I also have quite a bit of junk left that I cannot use. I cannot possibly use all of them, right guys? And this is what 3 years of artifacts looks like. It's quite a bit. I think I have well over 300 plus 20 artifacts, and I also have quite a bit logged, quite a few logged, as you can see. But I'm always low on supplies, honestly. Most notably Mora. Now I have a bit because it's been, you know, a new region, but I usually have sub 1 million. And I'm not one of those guys either that just farms mob materials. I only get them when I need them, or when they come my way. Weeklies I do diligently though. I don't think I ever miss doing them, unless I forget for some weird reason, which is not the norm. These are the recipes. I use them quite a bit, especially the 20% crit food. Adeptus Temptation I use a bit, and I also use the potions quite frequently. And weirdly enough, also the shield strength food is one of my favorites. And also, I don't know if you've noticed on the weapons section, but I have quite a few prototype weapons at R5 already, and actually I use quite a few of them on the regular. And right now I'm planning to R5 the new Fontaine weapon, and I'm also keeping some of the prototypes just in case I have a weird build idea that I would like to do. Then here are my stuff. It's just random junk section, gadgets. These are documents. And as you can see, as far as the QLI goes, I diligently collect almost all of them, almost always. I also have still my Shao Lanterns saved up. However, one thing I don't frequently do is the teapot. And you must be curious how my builds look like, since I've been diligently farming everything so far. And without further ado, I would like to show them off as well. Well, my most favorite units in the game are the ones you see in my party. I think my all-time favorite is a three-way tie between Yoimiya, Eula and Yelan. And I spared no expense, I spared no resin, I spared no sweat and tears farming for them. I'm yet to see better builds for these characters than what I have, for the most part. And while I do not believe that going for constellations is a good idea, I will make certain exceptions, such in the case of Eula C1, which I went for on the first rerun when the first dual banner was out, because it has a glow effect. Yes, that's the only reason I went for Eula C1, for the glowing effect. And the only reason I went for the weapon is because I liked how it looked. So I'm not strictly a meta player, but that you can tell from my favorites. And also on the builds, I don't necessarily go for the most optimal choices. As you can see, I don't have much ER on her. I could use this, which would be a much better piece and would fulfill my ER needs, but I just like how the crits look a lot more, you know. And my newfound favorite is probably Yelan, whom I've pulled on all three of her banners. And this is the biggest exception I made. I went for C2. I really enjoyed her playstyle. I went for C1 because I liked the E for exploration and for combat, for repositioning in Abyss, and repositioning in general is very valuable. And I went for C2 because, well, the Hydra application was satisfactory, but I would have liked to get that little oomph out of her, and since I had pulls to spare, I was like, why not? My artifacts would be very hard to replace at this stage, since I am using the domain right now for strong boxing Pale Flame, and I also got a Pale Flame upgrade. This was the upgrade I got, and this was the previous piece. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. Well, anyway, and what almost broke me was Dehya's release. I think you all know the situation, so I wouldn't like to go into too much detail. The way I got C1 Yelan was actually funny. You see, I had been saving up for several months for Dehya, because I very much liked her in the story. I thought she was an excellent character. And sadly, when news broke out of her state, by that time I already had over 300 pools saved up. But I decided that a portion of the pools I would rather use on a Yelan C1, because I did not find it worthy to go for constellations on Dehya after what has been done to her. And as you can see, some of my other units are also filled to the brim in terms of investment. I very much like running builds that I think look cool or are fun to use. I do not run what's the most optimal. My Jean is actually robbed of her better piece by Lynette right now. I also would like to go for C2 on the Shogun eventually, actually. Oh, by the way, this has probably been my hardest farming for Raiden Shogun's crit ratio. It's been brutally, impossibly hard because she doesn't ascend with crit, her best weapon doesn't have any crit on it, so it's just been a nightmare trying to hit the ratio. But 2 months ago I managed to snag this piece, which just almost completely solved my build's issue. And as you can see, the rest of the pieces are nothing to scoff at either, thankfully. And her attack is around 1900 to 2000 when she's in the party, but obviously the weapon stat isn't being displayed because it's a passive that gives more attack based on ER. Then Nilou, she's one of my recent favorites. I love Nilou Bloom design. I like the team's play style. I think it's really funny how things just die around you. And these are the pieces. And I also love how easy it is to build. You don't need crit. You don't need anything special, just EM and HP. Childe, oh Childe. He's probably my favorite male character, and he's one of my most favorite characters in gameplay. The way it started is, I didn't pull Childe for a good while, but I had an alt account where I accidentally got him when I was going for Beidou constellations. And he just grew on me over time, and I'm glad he did because, well, it's very enjoyable to use. And I was hoping that Dehya could replace Zhongli in International, but sadly that didn't happen. So we're just stuck with the same 3-year-old characters forever, I suppose. Albedo was my second limited character. I haven't been farming for him since the Husk domain came out, but I'm more or less happy with how he is. Kazuha, I only went for him because of International on his rerun, but he's very fun to use. Then Venti, I only went for Venti out of obligation because I was salty that I missed him on the very first banner. My build is quite good, I would say. Got lots of ER, has some EM and crit. It's a true hybrid in every sense of the word. Then Ganyu. Well, how did I get Ganyu again? Oh yes, I lost 50-50 on one of the Shao banners, I believe. And then I was like salty because I lost Shao 3 times. And since he was playing hard to get, I was like, okay, screw you, I'm gonna get Ganyu, she's better anyway. I actually use her quite a bit. I try to use all my characters, to be fair. So I'm not one of those guys that hard focuses on one character and then leaves the rest behind. I keep coming back to my old units as well. Except him. He's probably my only, or should I say the biggest regret in this account, because he seemed very fun. I liked his character a lot. His gameplay at first seemed fun, but over time I just didn't find it satisfactory anymore. I would say my build is pretty decent though. You see, I even double crowned him. But I just don't like his rotations. I don't like how big of a field time he requires. I just don't like him at all. So I haven't even used him since I got him, sadly. And then we have Keqing. Oh, Keqing, how I hated her. She used to always ruin my 50-50s. And it would always be at like late 50-50 to like 80, 83, 79, stuff like that, I believe. I only got her because she was an Archon. I did not care for her initially. Nahida that is. Then she kinda grew on me during the quest. Here's the MC. I didn't really use MC at all until Dendro. And then I find myself coming back to Dendro MC all the time. Kokomi I only got for my Nilou teams, to have more variety on my Nilou Bloom. That's the only reason. And I don't have much to say. She's fine at what she does, but honestly, I was happy with having Barbara there as well. I don't see that much of a difference, to be frank. Luke. He actually carried me in early Abyss. But I didn't have Wolf's Gravestone back then. And I've only built him out fully out of obligation. But he has not been used since I lost the first Shao banner to him, pretty much. Actually, that's not true. I've used him 5 months ago out of a meme for like a burning Burgeon look. Yunjin, she's for my Yoimiya. I eventually want to get that C6. I think my build is quite good on her. Not much to say. I have enough ER, I have lots of defense, that's all she really needs. My talent levels are high. Oh Noel. She was the first character I used as a carry, and I keep returning to her. I even got the Battle Pass weapon at R5 just for her, and I believe it was worth it. I even farmed Bolide, the Bolide domain, back in December of 2020, I believe, and this is that exact same set. Her build has not changed at all since then, but I don't think it needs to. It's decent enough. Kai I've never really used that much. But some of the artifacts are quite good. This is the one I usually would use, but right now Rosaria has used his artifacts. Not much to say for Cookie. Hyper Bloom Enabler. I was very happy that she got good after Dendro, because she looks cool, and it was a shame that she was bad before. As you can see, she's not very leveled. I haven't used her much, and I'm not gonna until I get that C6. Fischl I've used a lot. I really like this character. And for Lisa, she's my only C6 starter character, and my favorite out of them. Yao Yao, my little alternative for some of my Nilou variations. As you can see, it's C0, and yet it's perfectly usable. The talents aren't even that high, and I cannot say that there's anything wrong with her. Then we have Kirara. She's one of my new favorites actually, as well, because the way I've been running Nilou teams with her is that I run her with Xingqiu, Nilou, and second Dendro, and her shield plus Xingqiu's damage resistance enables me to not have to run a healer, but it also protects the team from my own Dendro explosions. So I've built her mostly full HP. Don't have much to say about him. He's a necessary evil to have. I don't much enjoy playing him or having him, honestly. Bennett I quite like.
Benny's adventure team.
He's a fun character. I really liked his backstory. Xiangling, same as Xingqiu, necessary evil to have, but as long as she enables my child to have his best team, I have no complaints. Candice I would really like her to be good. And the build I found recently is that of a hyper carry on fielder, and you can use this variation in like Nilou teams as well, but she's just not that great, sadly. I would really like her to be good though. Mona, my very first 5-star character, and as you can see I'm one of C6. And believe it or not, I still use her to this day on free steams and also on some damage showcases. Go Wow. I was lucky enough to get him on C6 on an Itto banner, I believe. And actually I've heard it's very rare that somebody has C6 Goro with C0 Itto, because it's just so unlikely. But I was lucky to be in that situation, because I honestly didn't want more constellations for Itto. He was fine at C0, more than fine. Ningguang, not much to say except mommy. Yeah, I got this on accident. I wanted to snipe an early red horn, which I failed to get. Then I just dipped. I wish she was good. I mean, I wish she was better, because I liked playing her back in the early game. This is my newest character, Lynette. I love using her. She's so fun. It's like an on-fielder. Haizu, same story. Right now Lynette has his artifacts, so the ratio you saw on Lynette is the one he would have. And I just love using him. I think the melee playstyle is very fun. Nothing to say for Sayu. I just don't care. Same for Sakros, I don't really care, sorry. Mika, I would have loved for him to be good, but he has his issues. But that didn't stop me from building him to a sufficient level. Rosaria I love using. I've just recently cleared Abyss with like a freeze Rosaria. And I also use her frequently on my Eula teams. She's the battery. Same with Diona, I run triple cryo. Not always, but when I do, it's Rosaria and Diona. I used to hate her character, I mean her characterization, but since then I don't mind her that much. Chongyun was actually the unit that first got me full clear on Abyss back in 2020 November or 2020 December, I believe, because I ran a variation with like reverse melt that got me like high enough burst damage that I could clear in time. She's Beidou, she's cool, and I really would prefer if she was good, but I think that's just copium. I was trying to build her for years now, and I think my current build is like actually pretty good. You know, I have the ER, I have the ratio, I have a 5-star weapon, I have good attack, like everything, but I just don't think she's good, honestly, and that's a crying shame because I would love her to be like actually good. Then we have Kole. Honestly, I benched Kole like quite early because Dan Ramsey is just better. I have Barbara. I actually used her a lot, like, and not even an early game. I built her for like an enabler for my Nilou, and she was a mainstay at my team for a long time, especially because you can accidentally get your Nahida killed, but Barbara can revive her. And also I just found the Hydro Ring useful, you know. Layla, can't wait to hit friendship 10 with her so I can finally kick her out of the team. I don't think she's good, I would have liked her to be good, but oh well. Dory, no. And the rest of the characters I have not built at all. Overall this game had its ups and downs, but I believe I would not have stayed if it wasn't consistently good enough. There were hiccups here and there were terrible places to explore, such as Inazuma. I did not really enjoy that, and then I also didn't really enjoy Sumeru. Sumeru was actually the first region that I delayed for almost half a year to a year on exploring, because usually I would max most of the regions and I would enjoy doing that. Even Inazuma was like kind of enjoyable, although to a lesser extent, but then Sumeru, as you can see, is still not fully maxed for me. The desert was just a chore to do. I really did not enjoy the desert at all, and I didn't much like the rainforest. I hated the Aranara questline, so my love for the game kinda died there a bit, especially with like the main blow being Dehya being bad. Because let me tell you, I've prepared 8 months in advance, you know, I was doing calculations on my pools. How could I save the most while also having enough pools to get my characters that I wanted to get? And it was just overall a bad experience. But now Fontaine is quite fun, actually. I think Fontaine has been the best region so far, best story and everything, and the exploration has been very fulfilling. And I will be looking forward to getting the characters of Navia, Chlorine, the Archon, Nuvilette I will get on a rerun, and I will be pulling for the new Harbinger as well. One important lesson I would like to share with you guys from my experience is that you should not be basing your own enjoyment off of others' opinions on the game or others' opinions on the meta, on who to pull. You should be going for whomever you like, whenever you'd like, and you should also refrain from spending as much money as possible, because I don't think that on the long run it's worth to spend thousands on the game, unless it's a Valkyne. I think a Valkyne is worth it, even the Battle Pass to a lesser extent. And I would also advise to just plan out your pools in advance. We have several tools available, but what I would like to share is that usually during a version you get around 70 or 80ish pools as like a Valkyne player, and then a bit less than that as a non-Valkyne player, so you can actually map out your pools well in advance. That's all I would like to say for now. Thanks for sticking around. Bye bye.